You don't need a single word to make a room change temperature. Real power doesn't announce itself. It doesn't perform. It doesn't need a crowd to confirm it's real. The men who shout the loudest are usually the ones with the least to lose and the least to show. The man who says nothing, who simply is the one everyone else quietly recalculates around. This is a guide to becoming that man, not through force, not through cruelty, through discipline, restraint, and the kind of presence that doesn't need permission to be noticed. Somewhere along the way, we started confusing volume with strength. A loud opinion, a loud car, a loud entrance. But watch closely, and you'll notice the people who need to broadcast their power usually don't have much of it left to hide. Think about the rooms you've been in. The loudest person rarely makes the final decision. They talk over others because talking is the only tool they trust. Meanwhile, someone else in the corner says 3 sentences all meeting and somehow ends up steering the outcome. That's not an accident, that's design. Real strength doesn't need an audience. It doesn't need applause. It sits quietly, fully formed, waiting, not performing. If you want to be taken seriously without saying a word, the first shift isn't in what you do, it's in what you stop doing. Stop narrating your ambitions. Stop explaining your next move before you've made it. Stop handing people a preview of your hand. Let your results speak. Let your silence do the negotiating. When you finally do talk, people should lean in, not because you're loud, but because you're rare. Nobody becomes unshakable by accident. The calm you see in a genuinely composed man is not a personality trait. It's infrastructure. It's built brick by brick, in rooms nobody else is watching. It starts with the boring stuff. Waking up on schedule even when no one will know if you don't. Training your body until physical discomfort stops being a crisis and starts being a Tuesday. Reading enough that you stop being surprised by people's patterns because you've already seen the pattern before. In a book, in a story, in someone else's mistake. None of this is glamorous. None of it gets filmed, but it's the foundation underneath everything that looks effortless later. A disorganized life cannot produce a composed man. If your habits are chaos, inconsistent sleep, impulsive spending, relationships built on convenience instead of trust, your presence will leak that chaos no matter how quiet you try to be. People can sense the gap between the mask and the man underneath, even if they can't name it. Small, repeated acts of discipline are what eventually make you feel, to everyone around you, like someone operating on a different frequency. Not because you're trying to seem different. Most people walk into a room trying to be noticed. Try walking into one trying to understand it instead. Notice who talks to fill silence and who talks because they have something to say. Notice who gives away information for free and who protects it. People reveal an enormous amount about themselves without ever realizing it. In their pauses, their fidgeting, the topics they steer away from without explaining why. The person doing the watching almost always has more leverage than the person doing the talking. Every piece of information someone hands you unprompted is a piece of leverage you didn't have to work for. You didn't ask. They just needed to fill the silence, and the silence was yours to give. So listen more than you speak. Let others fill the quiet. Keep what you learn to yourself, and resist the urge to trade secrets for secrets just to feel closer to someone. Closeness built on mutual oversharing is fragile. Trust built on discretion lasts. Here's an uncomfortable truth. Predictable men are easy to manage. If people always know exactly how you'll react, what will make you angry, what will make you cave, what will make you chase, they've already found the lever that moves you. This isn't a call to be erratic. Chaos and unpredictability are not the same thing. Chaos is noise. It costs you credibility. What you want is depth, the sense that there's more going on beneath the surface than anyone can fully map out, and that what they see is only the visible 10%. Break your own patterns occasionally, on purpose. Skip the thing people expect you to do. Show up somewhere you're not expected to be interested in. Not for drama, for freedom. The moment people believe they've fully figured you out is the moment they stop being careful around you. And that's the moment you lose your edge. You don't need to tell people you're capable. You need to be the person whose word, once given, simply happens. Competence has its own gravity. When people know that what you say gets done, quietly, reliably, without a show, they stop needing you to prove anything. Promises become unnecessary because your track record already answers the question before it's asked. And the less you need to prove, the more unreadable and the more respected you become. Watch how differently people treat the man who talks about what he's going to build versus the man who simply shows up one day, having built it. The second man never had to convince anyone of anything. The evidence walked in ahead of him. Let your work be the only argument you make. Save your words for the moments where words are actually the tool required. Negotiations, boundaries, decisions that need to be spoken clearly once and not repeated. The space around you says things before you do. A cluttered, reactive environment signals a cluttered, reactive mind. A clean, deliberate one signals control, even before anyone has spoken to you. This isn't about minimalism as an aesthetic. It's about intention. How you keep your space, how you dress, how you carry your body when you walk into a room is a preview of how you'll handle pressure. People pick up on that faster than they'd ever admit, and they adjust their own behavior around it without knowing why. Pay attention to how other people manage their own environment too. The way someone treats a small space, their desk, their car, their inbox, tells you how they'll likely handle a much bigger one. Disorder rarely stays contained to one area of a life. Very little makes a person more unpredictable, in the useful sense, than not needing anything from anyone in the room. Financial independence means you're never cornered into a decision out of desperation. You can walk away from a bad deal, a bad job, a bad relationship, because the walking away doesn't threaten your survival. That freedom changes how people negotiate with you before a single word is exchanged, because they can sense you're not trapped. Emotional independence means no one can bait a reaction out of you just by pushing the right button. When an insult lands and gets nothing back, no defensiveness, no scrambling explanation, it tells the room something important. This person's stability doesn't come from your approval. Both are quiet forms of leverage that never need to be mentioned out loud, because they show up automatically in how unbothered you are when things get tense. The less you need external validation, the less anyone can use it against you. Being underestimated is not an insult. It's cover. While others are busy performing their ambition, announcing plans before they're built, chasing credit before it's earned, narrating their 5-year vision to anyone who'll listen, you get to work in the quiet, undisturbed, without an audience second-guessing every move before it's finished. By the time people notice what you've actually built, you're already 3 steps further down the road, and they're just catching up to a version of you that no longer exists. Let the noise around you work in your favor. Let people fill in the blanks about who you are. The imagination is usually more intimidating and more generous than the plain truth would be anyway. Correcting every misconception costs you energy you'd rather spend elsewhere. Anyone can throw a provocation your way. Cheap ones cost nothing to make and are designed to get a reaction. Any reaction, because a reaction confirms they have some kind of access to you. The moment you take the bait, you've handed over control of the interaction. Staying calm isn't passivity. It's the refusal to let someone else set the terms of your response. It's the decision that your energy is worth more than the momentary satisfaction of clapping back. When you do respond, make it deliberate, precise, minimal, done. No extended monologue, no attempt to win the crowd, just the necessary correction, delivered once and then silence again. That contrast, stillness, then one clean, decisive action, is what people actually remember. Not the volume, the precision. Anything constantly available starts to feel ordinary, no matter how good it actually is. That includes you. Being selective with your time and your attention isn't arrogance. It's an honest reflection of the fact that both are limited, and you know it. When people have to earn access to you, they treat that access like it matters. When it's given away freely, on demand at any hour, it gets treated that way too, as something disposable. This doesn't mean disappearing or playing games. It means knowing the difference between generosity and self-erasure. Show up fully when you show up, then go back to your own life, your own work, your own silence, without needing to explain the gap. Every sentence you speak costs you something, even if you don't notice it in the moment. It reveals a preference, an insecurity, a plan, a weakness, a want. Talking is generous by nature. It hands other people material. This doesn't mean becoming mute or cold. It means asking before you speak whether the sentence earns its place. Does it move something forward? Does it protect something important? Or is it just filling air because silence made you uncomfortable? The people who speak the least in a negotiation are usually the ones who walk away having given up the least. Silence isn't a void to be filled. It's a tool to be used deliberately, the same way a good editor cuts a sentence not because it's wrong, but because it's unnecessary. Eventually, if you're consistent enough in private, you stop needing to manage your reputation in public. It manages itself. carried room to room by people who've simply watched you operate. This is the real payoff of everything above. Discipline compounding quietly until other people start doing your advertising for you without you ever asking. Someone mentions you in passing, and the tone alone says more than a resume could. That's not luck. That's the delayed interest payment on years of choosing substance over spectacle. None of this is about becoming cold or cruel or performing menace for its own sake. It's about understanding a simple trade. Every unnecessary word, every premature explanation, every attempt to be seen costs you a small piece of your leverage. Give away less. Build more in the quiet. Let your results carry the conversation you never had to have out loud. The man who doesn't need to raise his voice is usually the one nobody in the room wants to test. Not because he's threatening, because he's finished proving anything a long time ago. Be that man. Not by performing silence for an audience, but by earning it, one disciplined, unremarkable day at a time.